What's up? I know you're quite surprised to see me here on Alchemia Story. That's right, here I am. Which, I've been going through some stuff, behind the screen. And of course, I know quite a bit of people are as well. So I wanted to do some more videos, I guess. Take my mind off of it, you know what I mean? So I wanted to do a different approach to my Alchemia Story content at the moment, with a series of experiences and storytelling. This could be of other players, of what they've been through on this game, as well as any other. So here I am, wanting to tell you a story. So I'm gonna call this Days of Alchemia. Yes, right, Days of Alchemia. Because it's past experiences from other players that happened in the past of this game to anything that might be happening current. So, if you know any stories or any experiences that you would like to share, let me know. So, this is the first story. We're gonna call it Bad Luck Love. That's right. That's the name of this story here. It's Bad Luck Love. So we're going to talk about someone. We are going to call them Hugo. The players' names are not the correct names that has been in this game, but as a, I guess, protection for them, for everybody that's in the story, we're gonna just leave it to that. So Hugo has been playing this game for quite some time, or at least did, before they quit. Hugo was into building different builds for classes, and was quite smart, they like doing testing and stuff like that. Hugo liked this. That's right, Hugo liked this other person. And, well, let's just say this. They are very well acquainted with each other. They knew each other. Or at least, so they thought. Layla had an in-game family on Alchemia Story. And, this person, I guess we'll nickname them Virgil, was in it. So, Hugo had, I guess, dated this girl in-game, meaning Layla, but Hugo missed them. So, he ended up getting back in contact with Layla. We'll name her that. And, Layla, at first, I guess, wasn't sure, but ended up saying, okay, so they started talking more, started to get back to knowing each other again, taking the steps of actually, accepting. Of course, Hugo is not the very perfect person, Hugo has made mistakes, and, quite a bit of mistakes, but Hugo can be a good person when he desires to be so. But, so Hugo and Layla were dating. We're gonna call this the beginning. Chapter called Beginning. So Layla and Hugo started a date, started to get back reacquainted, doing raids and story, not really story, but, like, bosses together, stuff like that, grinding, for levels of their classes, you know, that kind of thing. So, Hugo was really into Layla. But there was a thing about Layla. She didn't talk. Why that is, not even sure. So, if there was some kind of rivalry between Hugo and Virgil. That's right, I mentioned about this Virgil person that was in her family. And the weird thing was they both, Virgil and Hugo, was into Layla. Yeah, that's right. And, you know, things just was surprising, you know. Of course, Layla, you know, showed, you know, them pictures of her. Which was of a, well, for one, girl with long hair. Yeah. And of course, I believe she was also taking care of somebody. Yep. So, wow. So, next chapter, the oddness. The oddness. That's the next chapter, the oddness. So, things started to go weird in Hugo and Layla's relationship. Layla started getting stalked or something, by somebody. We're gonna name them Leon. Leon continued to harass Layla's family as well as her. You know, doing things that you're really not supposed to be doing in the game. You know, talking, flirting, you know, just things that just you shouldn't do. Layla just didn't like it. And of course, Hugo ended up trying to confront Leon. Hugo ended up winning and tried to chase them off by having the proof to show everybody how much of a stalker harasser this person is. It didn't go very well. Really, it shouldn't, because I mean, it's gonna make people think you're crazy or something, trying to do stuff like that. But at the same time, we can understand, you know, you don't want people harassing your girlfriend, your lover, you know. It's just crazy, you know, because if you go in it the wrong way, people are gonna think you're crazy. But at the same time, we can understand you're mad and understand that that's pretty messed up. But people are gonna say, oh, it's just a game, you know. They're not really doing anything in content, but it's really messed up. I will just put it this way, the story is really messed up. So, Layla continued to get harassed by Leon, and Hugo was not liking it. And I'm pretty sure Virgil was not liking it either. And of course, these two, of course, still rivalry as ever. Hugo was dating Layla. And come to find out, Layla wasn't only dating Hugo, but she was also talking to Virgil. Yes, come to find out, yep, you heard correctly. 2 dudes and 1 girl. Yeah, that's not surprising, right? So, things just, well, they didn't know about it, but yeah, at the time. So here's the weirdness. Hugo was getting pictures of a young, I guess, young girl, I guess, or a little bit older. Knew that, you know, she was taking care of somebody in her family. But Virgil was getting, you know, young pictures as well. And was also getting pictures that something didn't add up. It was two different pictures of something private that did not look the same from one picture that Hugo had gotten and also the picture that Virgil had gotten. Yes, that's correct. Something wasn't adding up. So, that's the weirdest, messed up part. One looked older, like it belonged to something older, and the other one looked like something younger. Kind of weird, right? And Hugo really liked Layla, but, you know, things was just not adding up whatsoever. I mean, things made it worse when she was getting stalked, okay?